We're gonna start off by talking about the Eliminated, which this actually may take up the most amount of this video this week. So let's just get it over with now so I don't have to talk about him anymore.
Y'all know I'm not enjoying this, right? I guess we're dropping my chef. Apparently, Michael has some kind of cooking skill and I don't.
Line up in front of your dishes. Let's go.
Guys, you and your mother. I'm about to cheers myself on this one. So, if you're gonna put me up for some reasons, that's fine. Chef Ramsay knows better. He sees what's going on.
Dan, give me a jacket, big boy. Your time is done.
Yeah, chef.
Thank you.
On Tuesday morning, I went to go work out, and while I was like midway through my warm-up, about to go into plie, I had this brilliant idea in my mind, and it was called the Ignore Dan game. I mean, I played it when I watched Survivor Samoa recently. I decided to ignore Russell Hantz because I figured let's just try and focus on the good things that don't have anything to do with him. So I was like, well, maybe I can do the same thing with Dan. I tried, and then within the first segment, I wanted to shoot myself in the face. He was really bad in this episode. Like, I used the word insufferable a lot in the last video, and it's hard for me to come up with a better word. But he was god-awful. Like, horrendous. Just, ugh. The only good things that came out of Dan's existence in this episode were this.
If we would have used my dish, we would have won. No, we wouldn't have.
And this.
I'm not talking to you right now, so shut the up.
If I wasn't here, I'd punch you in the face, but we are here, so
Exactly. You ain't gonna do so shut up. Don't say nothing.
don't worry.
You ain't gonna do
See you when we get home.
What bothers me is that I feel like it was so easy to fix the situation. Like, I'm not gonna necessarily say that Dan is intelligent enough to fix things, because we didn't see it, and he certainly didn't do it. But I would at least hope that he would be. And I understand the whole, they picked Michael's goat over his goat. And, like, I'm gonna be honest, like, I just rewatched that scene in the episode just so I could, like, cut pieces. And goat and risotto sounded like an awesome combination. So Dan did a good job getting the goat in the risotto pan. And honestly, it's really hard to feel bad for Dan in this situation because he's alienating himself. He did this all to himself. I mean, like, the goat thing is one thing, but everything after the goat incident, honestly, that's all his fault. I mean, I don't know if this would actually have worked, but it was something that was worth trying. Apparently, they had to feed the animals all night, like all day. They were up all day anyway. Boys are usually up all night anyway, work or not. I know my men. I feel like Dan could have just, not necessarily woken anyone up in the middle of the night, but like, well, they were already awake. Just go to one of the boys, one or two of the boys actually, and talk to them and just tell them, hey, look, I don't like the way you guys have been treating me, and I don't really know if we're going to be friends outside of the game. However, how about we just put our differences aside, because I quite frankly want to win service and don't want to go home anytime soon. Depending on which boys he picks, I feel like they would understand and they would all, like, not necessarily be hunky-dory friends or anything like that, but they would help. Like, you could either do one-on-one or one-on-two even. Like, I feel like I want to say do one-on-one just because there's a lesser chance of you getting ganged up on by an extra person, but at the same time, you know, like, one person's only going to turn one other person to helping you, so if you get two, then you can turn two people, which is already half of the remaining people on the team. So, I mean, certainly don't approach the whole team as a whole. Oh my god, no. Like, I would not have, like, definitely don't approach everyone. First off, everyone would want to sleep anyway. Secondly, it's just asking for trouble. Quite frankly, if I was the biggest twat bag on the season, I wouldn't go up to my entire team to ask if they could forgive me. That's just asking for me to get slapped. Are you kidding me? That's stupid. But just go to two of them. Just pick two, talk to them. Unfortunately for Dan, it doesn't really leave him spoiled for choice. We already know how Michael feels about him.
If he lays one finger on me, I'm gonna beat him all over the room. I don't care if I go to jail tonight.
We already know how Zach feels about him.
Off, Dan. Piece of
We already know how Raymond feels about him.
I tried to hop in.
Yeah, but I didn't ask you to.
interfering with me, bitch.
Don't call me a bitch.
You're a bitch.
And as of the past 2 episodes, we officially know how Barret feels about him.
If I wasn't here, I'd punch you in the face.
So that kind of leaves you with only 2 options anyway.
Dan, man, you need to get over yourself, cuz.
Nope.
You Dan.
I understand that Jon basically told Dan to fuck himself in the last episode, but that was only because Dan attacked him and didn't realize that all Jon wanted to do was give him some constructive criticism. And I don't think that that's Jon's fault. I think that's really all Dan's fault. So I think once Dan realized, if Dan would have realized, well, okay, I don't think Jon's trying to attack me. Like Zach attacked me at being in the bottom, and you know, Michael's attacked me on numerous occasions. Ray attacked me the entire night beforehand. Like, you're really not, you don't have that many options. So, but Jon wasn't trying to attack him. What Jon was trying to do was help him, because Jon wants his team to do well. And I mean, if anyone really comes out as wanting his team to do well, it's definitely the 2 of them, but you see a lot of that from Jon because you don't really hear anything else from Jon. Jon definitely does worry about the team almost more than anyone else, just because you don't really see him worrying about his own dishes and his own fuck-ups, because especially as of late, he's Jon fucking Scallion. I mean, he doesn't fuck up like ever nowadays, so, which is always a good thing. I was really afraid that he was going to stay inconsistent after episode 5, but no, ever since then he's been on point and perfect. So he doesn't really need to focus on himself as much, so he just wants to win the challenges, he wants to win service. That makes sense. So I feel like Jon's an understanding guy. And the only reason I may not think he looks that understanding is just because, I don't know, he looks like my ex-boyfriend. That's the only reason. That's not a fair enough reason to judge someone on that. I think that the way Jon comes off on the show is he is going to be willing to help. Likewise, I don't really know how Anthony feels about Dan, like, in the show, because you don't really hear that much other than the fact that
there's gonna be no living with this kid after this.
Anthony just wants him to just stop. But you have to, like, realize what happened in episode 3.
Dude, I can't sit here. Like, do me a favor. I need to get in my whites, dude.
Dan was the only person there. Now, obviously, I'm not looking too far into this. I don't think that Anthony has to have any loyalty to Dan, but it is definitely something to think about. Like, Dan did help him out. He was the only one in the room at the time that did help him out with getting back into his chef white so he could get down and do the challenge, like a good team player. I mean, I'm not saying that Anthony should have been able to help Dan. That's really all up to Anthony, but I think that Anthony has proven that he is a sweet enough guy that he would, you know, at least consider helping. And he also cares about his team. He may complain about his team a lot because his team fucks up a lot, but he definitely does care. And I think, yeah, Dan may be really annoying, but Anthony is smart enough, I think, to put personal issues aside and just help him out. And, you know, again, Dan has helped Anthony out in the past. I feel like Anthony doesn't have to be loyal to anyone in this competition. Certainly not someone like Dan, but I think that Anthony has enough of a heart to realize, well, I may as well pay it forward, and just at least for one service. Of course, obviously, if Dan fucks up service again and blames it all on his team and doesn't take any of the responsibility and just ruins all of Jonathan's trust again, then of course they don't have to owe him anything. They can nominate him and get rid of him. But I feel like it would have been a smarter idea to just take them aside and talk to them and just say, hey, look, we have our differences. I don't expect us to be best friends at the end of the show, but I want to win service, and I feel like we all need each other. Let's just all work together. Jon and Anthony would have been like, you know, I respect that. Let's just try, we can talk to the other teammates, we can all just work together as a team. Michael might be the leader of the blue team, but for the past at least 2 episodes, it kind of does really look like Jon and Anthony are the pillars of the blue team. They are what keeps the blue team together. But I think it would have been smarter on Dan's part to at least have talked to them and see what they could have done. For all I know, I mean, obviously, for all I know, they could have been like, well, you I've kind of been a mess all fucking season, so I don't really know. But I feel like they're still more willing to help out as compared to Zach, who admittedly, I've loved Zach for a while, but he kind of angry. He likes to yell a lot, and it's like, I don't really know if Zach would have helped out. Michael would be very hesitant. I think he'd be like, well, I really want our team to do well, but we've had our differences, and they're very much so obvious. Barret, I think Barret would have a higher chance of helping. It's just now that we know that Barret and Dan were not friends on the show, it's a little confusing. I don't really know if they would have helped. Ray also, I'm not really sure, but they had their character development too. Definitely don't go with Zach and Michael though. I feel like honestly after the whole mimicking voice thing, although it was really funny, I think it may have been a little too soon for someone like Dan to approach someone like Barret. I feel like it's too soon in their rivalry for them to start patching it up. It's ridiculous. But no, definitely Jon and Anthony I feel like would have understood. They would have talked. They would have been fine. And Michael may be the leader of the blue team, but Jon and Anthony are the pillars of the blue team. I've noticed that for the past 2 episodes. They are kind of what keeps the boys together. I mean, yes, obviously the power of love and friendship. Obviously, wait, wrong show. Oh wait, no, that's Sailor Moon. Shit, the boys are more like Ronin Warriors, I guess. Would they be? I don't know. I mean, obviously, the power of love and friendship obviously would keep them together, but in terms of individuals, I feel like, yes, Michael is a fine leader, that's great, but Jon and Anthony are what keeps they're the glue. They're the pillars that keeps everything together. I use power, love, and friendship. That was a Sailor Moon reference. That's their boy. Maybe I probably shouldn't have used, you need all the armors to make one armor. You need all the armors to make one armor to be the most powerful. Why do you think Toppa didn't rule Toyama? It's just Dan needed to realize that that they weren't gonna win unless what I'm basically saying is that Dan just needed to remind everyone they all need to work together if the blue team wants to win the goddamn challenge. I guess what Dan should have done was just basically, talk to Anthony, talk to Jon, and just be like, look, it's just like, look, I don't really like you. I don't respect you guys for whatever happened. You guys still need to earn my respect back. However, a team doesn't win anything if the members are divided. You have the individuals make a team. You gotta have all the pieces make a whole. You have to have all 9 armors make the big armor and take over the world. And that's what the boys have been failing to do. And I was really hoping that Dan would have realized all of that, and just been like, hey, we gotta combine our forces. We gotta combine our armors. And we gotta take out the red team. We gotta take out all the evil forces. And we have to work together through our differences. Just, that was more disappointing to watch Dan not know how to do that and not be able to talk to his damn team and, unite everyone than compared to how exciting it was to watch him go home. Yeah, I was happy he went home. I wanted Barret safe. Barret's been one of my favorites for a while. Dan's been my least favorite for the past 2 episodes. So, yeah, I wanted Dan to go home. But I'm more, annoyed that there was so much potential for him to fix everything. And he wasn't gonna do that because they didn't pick his goddamn goat dish. Talk about childish. I don't know. But, whatever. Hopefully the rest of them will learn how to, put the 9 armors together and work as a team. I think at this point everyone likes each other, so I think we should be okay. Alright, I'm done talking about Dan. He's wasting my time. Let's talk about other people. Who else can we fucking talk about?